What's up, guys? Today the team we're going to be taking a look at is Lead, Shadow, Victory Bell, Safe Swap, Defense Deoxys, going back to basics a little bit with the Safe Swap position, and the closer is going to be Galarian Stunfisk instead of Bastiodon. So this team actually runs quite a bit, or not quite a bit, but a bit differently than the original team. Replacing the Safe Swap provided a much closer gaming experience in the first place for me. So I actually did drop a ton of rating at the beginning when switching to Galarian Stunfisk as my closer. I managed to gain that rating back, but I still do make some mistakes in some of these games, kind of playing like I had a Bastiodon instead of a Galarian Stunfisk instead. So the main difference between Bastiodon and Galarian Stunfisk is Bastiodon, you want to play with shields up because it doesn't matter if that Altaria or Skarmory has two shields, you'll win anyways. Whereas if Galarian Stunfisk faces either of those two with two shields, and you don't win all those matchups anymore. You definitely don't win them as cleanly. So you can't just throw shields on your safe switch and have switch advantage win the game for you. But I did eventually start climbing back up, and here's some gameplay from my team. Victory Bell versus Cresselia, the classic one shield down matchup to maintain switch advantage. I think it's definitely worth it, especially because you don't have Bastiodon anymore. Deoxys Defense comes in, and once again, this is a Pokemon I would rather take with Victory Bell, and they just let that Leaf Blade go through too. That's two Leaf Blades that have gone through. I don't mind committing my shield there just to make sure, and it's a Scrafty. So this is actually extremely bad for my team. This Scrafty has a ton of energy, so I need him to waste some of that energy so I can move into Deoxys Defense because I have no shields to tank the Focus Blast. So unfortunately, he did not throw a Foul Play, he threw a Power-Up Punch, but that is enough for me to kind of counter him down, and even though their shield's still up, I'll just try and burn some of them with Psycho Boosts. It's not too big of a deal, and they know that they can't really win that matchup anymore. So yeah, did not get to see Galarian Stunfisk at all in action. I know there are some games in here that show what he can do over a Bastiodon, for example. And there's going to be some losses where I lose because I still kind of am playing like I have a Bastiodon. So immediately they switch into Shadow Hypno here. I swap into Galarian Stunfisk. I know this matchup decently well as I was running a Shadow Hypno recently. And you do win the two shields just by going straight Rock Slide. So it's a no pressure two shield win. But I see the Ice Punch. So at that point, you can kind of just go for blood. He Ice Punched. He doesn't have Focus Blast or Fire Punch. And I know he knows that I know. So I'll go for an Earthquake. And I'm pretty sure he's not going to shield here. One shield remaining. No, he's not going to save his Hypno. But now they have to bring something in that doesn't take very much damage from Galarian Stunfisk. And I think they're going to want to sack this Rainy Cast form anyways. So I blow the Earthquake to do as much damage as possible. I don't get the shield. But Ready Cast Form isn't one of those water types with an ice type move. I can just come back on the Shadow Victory Bell and soak that right up. But as you can see, so that's one of the benefits of Galarian Stunfisk over Bastiodon. If that's Bastiodon, I don't bring as much damage into that next matchup when they don't want to commit shields. Galarian Stunfisk is much more, well, its charge moves have insane coverage. Rock and Ground is one of the best. It's called Edgequake. The Edgequake combo in regular Pokemon, but it's one of the best type coverages. There's, like, without Levitate especially, there's pretty much nothing that resists both of them. So it's just absolutely fantastic. There's no Pokemon that just, like, comes in afterwards and gets to farm it down with no shields, unless it's extremely low, whereas Bastiodon has a couple of those matchups. So Sunny Cherrim in the front, really hoping it's Razor Leaf, and it is not, so this is a pretty hard matchup. This is one of the cases where Bastiodon does do a lot better because Weather Ball Fire is not super effective, but I eat the Solar Beam on my Deoxys. That's not good. I thought they were baiting. That was a poor call. Solar Beam does a ton of damage. But as you can see, we go Deoxys into Deoxys, and I go for the Thunderbolt, and I barely get it. So this is a decent amount of damage off. So the one thing about Deoxys is, while counters are super effective against Galarian Stunfisk, the charge moves do almost nothing. So because he's farmed a lot of energy already, I know that the value of his energy, if I switch into Galarian Stunfisk, is going to be really low. And I might actually be able to farm him all the way down. So he's throwing a Psycho Boost. And I'm going to try and come up with this with a ton of energy. So Cherrim comes in. And I almost have 2 Rock Slides up, I think. I'm going to swap into Shadow Victory Bell anyways. I know I have some extra shields. I know I'm either going to be able to blow another shield or get to that Leaf Blade. And yeah, I'll trade shields. And now whatever they have has to come into an unshielded, or has to come in unshielded against a semi-loaded Galarian Stunfisk and Victory Bell, who can easily get to a Leaf Blade. And it's Galarian Stunfisk himself. So I'm going to throw the Leaf Blade here. The problem is switching into Galarian Stunfisk is asking for an Earthquake himself, but yeah, they were not going to be able to get to an Earthquake before I got them to almost no health, and a Rock Slide would be able to finish them off at that time. So once again, that was another example where Galarian Stunfisk, I would say, was beneficial over Bastiodon, even though you couldn't do the Shadow Hypno switch quite as well. So Shiftry lead, not a very good lead for Shadow Victory Bell, of course. It's the classic 2 for 1 if there's like no real baits. So I'm gonna have to shield here and foul play. So yeah, I know there's no chance they're gonna get to that next move. Galarian Stunfisk comes in. Rock Slide, this is gonna be very close. I think it takes me out, but I'm going to be able to come into Deoxys. So we talked about Deoxys defense versus Stunfisk before. And Deoxys defense is fantastic when the Stunfisk is already down to like half health, because you can come out of that matchup with a ton of energy. Assuming you don't faint. Okay, yeah. So I have to make a switch there so I don't get hit by a Rock Slide and lose everything. I can now farm this Galarian Stunfisk down. So they have a shield, but I'm kind of loaded on a couple Pokemon now. Azumarill comes in. This would be a very bad situation for Bastiodon, but because Earthquake just hits so hard, it's not too bad, and they're going to need to throw their energy. They can't farm Galarian Stunfisk all the way down. I expect they don't even shield, so that was questionable. I feel like they could have thrown a Hydro Pump a little bit earlier, but I think they were trying to farm energy for Deoxys defense. And at this point, Shiftry comes in to Deoxys defense. There's 3 loaded Psycho Boosts, pretty much. Have to hope one of these takes Shiftry down, but 1 hit away, and the counter brings the Shiftry down. So, also, that counter gave me the last Psycho Boost needed to take down the Azumarill, just in case they had energy. But after throwing a Hydro Pump, they don't have enough energy for Ice Beam anyways. So, I'm just kind of guaranteeing the victory there. So, once again, with Bastiodon there, that does not happen. The ability to just build up energy so fast is very beneficial. And a lot of people are running fighters in the back now too. So this matchup depends on IVs, but generally it's a 2 for 1, so they swap out. Umbreon, also not really good for my back line here. But they let the Leaf Blade through. So I swap to Galarian Stunfisk. I think specifically in this case, Bastiodon is better. Bastiodon takes a lot less damage from all of Umbreon's foul plays. The defense is just so much higher. Whereas I try and get kind of greedy farming this Umbreon down. And at this point, I'm not even sure my Galarian Stunfisk can take Umbreon down. And I over farm a bit because I wasn't quite used to the Rock Slides and stuff, how many you have to do. And I'm very intent on coming out of this matchup with energy. So I am really stubborn, farm all the way down, and I know Medichamp's coming back in. So fire off that Earthquake. And they actually let it through. So I almost get to another Earthquake. But I'm in a pretty tough position here. No shields versus Registeel is really rough, especially when Registeel has a little bit of energy. And yeah, we're going to see him throw his energy here. But Deoxys defense counters, no shields, so I can only take 1 Flash Cannon before fainting. If Deoxys takes its 2nd Flash Cannon with the extra lockdown damage, it's over, and it looks like, yeah, it's over. I try and go for some Psycho Boosts to burn the shields, but this is like it's a pretty low percentage play. I think I've lost at that point. I was just a bit upset that I didn't quite get that Earthquake off against the Registeel and at least burn a shield, or at least try the Rock Slide. But that was just thinking a bit too slow. But yeah, this first set, you can kind of see there were a couple games where Galarian Stunfisk fared better and a couple games where Bastiodon fared better. There were also a lot less games where on my safe swap I'm throwing just all my shields on Deoxys. You do have to try and play or you do have to try and play shields down sometimes, but it's less about switch advantage. I'll only be throwing the shields on my Deoxys if they're going to get another shield out as well. So this is another scenario, Registeel lead, where I'm not sure this is the optimal way to play it anymore. With the old team, switch advantage is so important. I don't mind just staying in with Victory Bell and committing 2 shields to win the lead. But now I have 2 Pokemon in the back that can beat Registeel. So I safe swap to Deoxys, knowing that Galarian Stunfisk can handle him in the back. But I probably should have done that earlier because the Earthquake almost KOs. So anyways, Shadow Hypno swaps in to me. But they didn't charge up, or I thought they didn't charge up for enough for a Shadow Ball, but I guess they did. So unfortunately, it looks like I'm going to have to lose switch advantage here. And this is not a very good scenario because Shadow Victory Bell is the only one with a lot of fast move damage that could take down the Shadow Hypno before they get to a move. And I can't bring Shadow Victory Bell into that matchup, or the confusion damage would leave it pretty much worthless. So instead I opt to get a lot of energy, and in comes Machamp of some sort. Probably Shadow Machamp. Yep. And there's a shield on the Earthquake, and I swap immediately into Victory Bell, and they swap back into Registeel. So I blow my shield because I need to save Victory Bell, but I notice they have 1 shield left, and I misplay this so badly. So I think Bastiodon is in the back for some reason instead of Gunfisk. So instead of throwing Leaf Blade, I just try and get as much damage as I can in on this Machop. And I could have gotten to a Rock Slide and a Leaf Blade, and that would have been the end of that Machamp. So unfortunately, I completely misplay this game. Despite maybe not counting Shadow Hypno's confusions correctly, still should have been able to pull it out, but that's definitely my mistake. All right, so favorable lead and into a favorable switch. This is the perfect kind of game where we can eliminate Sableye, which is a huge threat to the back 2, just with the spending a shield, and I retain switch advantage. So we know they have an Azumarill, which means we'll find out what their 3rd Pokemon is, and it's an Umbreon. That's not great. Umbreon is a pretty solid matchup versus the entire team, but I'm going to decide to go into Deoxys. So this is a bit controversial. Umbreon kind of destroys Deoxys. I'm doing this because I know their last Pokemon is Azumarill, and Shadow Victory Bell with a shield should be able to beat Azumarill. But I need someone to line up with this Umbreon, and that has to be Galarian Stunfisk. So I sacrifice Deoxys defense to try and leverage that switch advantage. So I'm going to swap in Galarian Stunfisk. They're going to swap out right away. That's fine. I'm going to go for a Rock Slide. In this case, I want the Rock Slide to go through so that I only have to spend 1 shield on Shadow Victory Bell. Luckily, they don't shield it. Otherwise, Shadow Victory Bell will probably go down to an Ice Beam later. So, yeah, 4 bubbles, 3 or 4 bubbles there. And I get a Leaf Blade off on this Umbreon. I'm going to burn a shield. And it's as simple as going back in with the Galarian Stunfisk, and I think I save up for an Earthquake because I'm at full HP, and it's better to be safe than to be sorry. If the Rock Slides don't KO, then... or Rock Slide doesn't KO, you have to throw another one that's an extra 2 Mud Shots. But, yeah, I just don't know 100% of the matchups as well as I do with Bastiodon, right? I don't know exactly how much damage that Rock Slide will do at this time with the Umbreon. I know now, I think. But this was another matchup where it would have been nice to have Bastiodon as well, but Galarian Stunfisk performed awesome. So this is actually interesting. Pokemon Trainer Q originally used my first team after I made the post, and then he was actually the first one to adapt this into a Galarian Stunfisk lineup. So this is a mirror match, and this is really important to show how this mirror is played, because this one is much more specific than the other one, which is kind of based on IVs. So we both throw our Leaf Blades, and I just want to stay as long as possible and get as much damage on this Deoxys. So now we're just going to throw charge moves as on Deoxys, and I actually learned this strategy from him, so I'm not sure why he didn't do it to me this time. But like we talked about earlier, Deoxys is low, and he has a lot of energy, but his energy doesn't really do that much to Galarian Stunfisk. His charge moves don't do anything. So Galarian Stunfisk, I'm just going to farm up a ton of energy. I know that if I have energy, I can take down his Stunfisk. No problem. And the first person to switch to Galarian Stunfisk is going to have the energy lead too. So you want to switch when their Deoxys is in like one Rock Slide range. And then they have to swap into you on the Galarian Stunfisk. So he gets Rock Slide off, which is unfortunate. I think he wins a CMP tie or something. But I'm able to pretty much take him out with Earthquake. My Deoxys comes in, farms a bit of energy, taking no chances with his Victory Bell. I know he's close to a Leaf Blade. Get the Psycho Boost off, and that's that. Even if he gets a charge move off on my Deoxys, I still do have Galarian Stunfisk in the back, and it's just a matter of time till I get to that Rock Slide. So yeah, that's how the mirror matchup goes. Swap out of the Deoxys mirror matchup when their Deoxys is like low enough for a Rock Slide to beat them, and you want to be the first to swap into your Gunfisk. So Deoxys start, and they immediately go into Skarmory. So this is one of those cases where I really wish I had a Bastiodon, but fortunately, Galarian Stunfisk still in a pretty good matchup here. You notice I'm farming a ton of energy. I'm not throwing any Rock Slides. That's because I am waiting for this Skarmory to Brave Bird, and then I can throw my Rock Slides. But this Skarmory continues Sky Attacking, so at this point, I'm getting kind of low. I do want to keep throwing these Rock Slides because I don't want to lose Switch Advantage. And they swap again, actually, into Deoxys. I'm going to throw an Earthquake to run down the Switch Timer, and then swap. Oh, actually be able to farm them down because they let it through. I wasn't expecting that. Anyways, Wylus comes in. It was very interesting. Actually, a very hard pick for my team to deal with. Besides Galarian Stunfisk, I don't quite get to that second Rock Slide, so this Wylus has a ton of energy. Dark Pulse is the thing that's really dangerous for Deoxys, and Body Slam, of course, is probably what's being used on Shadow Victory Bell, and Shadow Victory Bell goes down. I'm trying to farm down this Wylus. I do have one shield, and I'm hoping that this energy advantage will be enough going into the next matchup. I'm really unsure why I did not shield that Dark Pulse. That seems like a major misplay. And I try and farm down this Skarmory because I didn't think I could get the energy for enough moves. And obviously that was poor play. That wasn't even like Bastiodon related poor play. That was just poor play. Showing that everyone makes mistakes. So another Deoxys lead. They were contemplating switching there. They stopped attacking for a little bit, but instead they're charging up quite a bit. Makes me think they have Psycho Boost, and we'll see what their first charge move is. It looks like it was a CMP tie. I don't get another Razor Leaf in. I swap out, and I'm answered with Shiftry. So Shiftry is honestly very annoying to this team as well. No one really deals with it, but at least the counters are really chunking this specific Shiftry. I'm really hoping this is a Leaf Blade, because that's the only way I can win this matchup, is if they bait with it, and they do, and now I can just... Oh. That's not how I normally play that matchup. I guess I don't remember that correctly, but I actually shield there, but they also choose not to shield, and I'm able to win back Switch Advantage and get shields. So Galarian Stunfisk comes out, and it's a Meganium. This is a pretty hard matchup for Galarian Stunfisk. I don't have a shield, and I miss a bunch of the bubbles there. This is just embarrassing. So I want Meganium to blow its energy on Shadow Victory Bell. This isn't really about Actually, no, that's wrong. I shield too. He gets me with the Frenzy Plant, but luckily I'm able to come back on with the Leaf Blade and knock him out, and I'm going to go down to a Rock Slide there. Luckily, I know this. I've got Galarian Stunfisk in the back. Charge moves don't do anything. Doesn't matter if this Deoxys was loaded at all. I just have to get to a Rock Slide. So Galarian Stunfisk able to close out that match where in a better fashion than I think Bastiodon was able to. But if you'll notice, like, I am not really just willing to go down 2 shields to 0 in a lot of these safe switch matchups. I'm really only willing to throw shields in order to force other shields as well. Like in that Shiftry matchup, I did not shield against that Shiftry right at the end because I felt like I needed shields to protect my team. So another Deoxys lead. This has become very common recently. I'm not sure why, but they farm up to a Rock Slide and throw it, and they switch to Umbreon. Umbreon has also been a lot more common recently, but I think that's due to the PvPoke rankings being updated, and dark types are really killing it. So I swap into Galarian Stunfisk. Once again, Bastiodon has a much better matchup versus Umbreon, but that's fine. I learned from my mistakes, I hope, and don't just try and farm this Umbreon all the way down. I feel like I'll at least go for an Earthquake. And I do want to get rid of this Umbreon. I don't know if they're willing to spend shields on it, and they are not. But once again, I'm in a position where I'm going to be very low and trying to farm this Umbreon down, and that might lead to me having to use more shields than I want. So since Galarian Stunfisk is the one that really cares about their shields being down more, and he's the one that's extremely low right now, I am more willing to keep shields up. So Galarian Stunfisk versus Shadow Victory Bell. This is pretty good for Galarian Stunfisk with when Victory Bell is that low HP. And yeah, I'm just going to do some chip damage. But once again, Galarian Stunfisk very low, able to be farmed down by this Deoxys and bring energy into the next matchup. Deoxys looks like it's going to have to eat an Earthquake here unless I spent a Psycho Boost, but I think it is more valuable just to keep that energy. We don't know what they have left. Oh, we do, actually. It's a Deoxys. And we're able to do quite a bit of damage and get to that Psycho Boost first. Switch timers up so you can swap out that debuff if we wanted to, but I think that even debuffed, we can just farm down this Galarian Stunfisk. The only way that he would have taken us down is by throwing his energy, and then our own, albeit very low, Galarian Stunfisk in the back and come clean him up. So yeah, that worked out pretty well, but once again, Bastiodon probably would have worked there as well. So Swampert stays in for a little bit into Sableye. So this is the perfect scenario. Get to eliminate that Sableye, which is such a plague to teams where you have to switch into that Deoxys defense. But once again, it's another Scrafty. So there's been a lot of double dark teams running around recently. I think they're pretty strong, but I need to get rid of this Scrafty as soon as possible. Once again, Power Up Punch. I knew it was going to be a Power Up Punch. He didn't farm up enough for a foul play, but I think even taking a Power Up Punch at that point is going to drop me really low. Deoxys defense comes in. The foul play won't one-shot me even if it's boosted, but it is very close. And I need to keep some energy for their swap-ins here. Swampert, they don't really care about, but they're going to kind of sacrifice him to take down the Deoxys defense. Very low HP Swampert, and I'm going to come in with the Shadow Victory Bell and just finish off the rest of the team. So yeah, Scrafty causes pretty big problems for this team, but if the beginning works out such that they have to swap the Scrafty into the Shadow Victory Bell, that's really the main way to deal with it. So Abomasnow, awful lead. Luckily, the two Pokemon on the back deal pretty well with it, but I'm counter swapped by an Umbreon. So goal here is to kind of drop shields on both sides. I know if I throw the first Thunderbolt and they let it through, and if I let this first foul play through, they're going to get to the second foul play before my next Thunderbolt. But if I shield, I can almost certainly force a shield with Thunderbolt. If they don't shield here, I can win switch advantage. And if I'm playing the Bastiodon lineup, that's great. Unfortunately, this guy doesn't shield, so I feel like I have to go all in for the switch advantage at this point, since I'm a shield down. Once again, playing like I have a Bastiodon, but without the actual Bastiodon itself. So this matchup is going to be kind of tough, especially now because this Deoxys is going to be kind of loaded. So I can't really bring in Shadow Victory Bell. A single Psycho Boost will beat it. So I bring the Shadow Victory Bell, trying to bait out a charge move. And it did not work. Well, I guess it did. He threw Thunderbolt. But they bring in the Abomasnow actually onto Galarian Stunfisk. This is an odd move considering that Shadow Victory Bell is in the back. And I'm just going to spam Rock Slides while I get spammed by Weather Ball Ices. And it's probably going to be a very close game. Looks like Weather Ball Ice is probably going to take me out. But my Shadow Victory Bell will be able to come in and eat another Weather Ball Ice. Bit of an anticlimactic ending there. But see, this is another one of those games where it kind of shows I went too hard for switch advantage when this team does kind of rely on shield advantage. A lot of the Umbreons I've been facing in the past will shield that Thunderbolt. And then your more even shield standing Galarian Stunfisk can really threaten the Deoxys defense then. But here we see another favorable lead. Obstagoon comes out. This is a Pokemon I can't really deal with the other two Pokemon. Actually, I have realized that Deoxys defense chunks Obstagoon. Like, I thought the low attack and non-stab would really stop this Obstagoon, or like would allow the Obstagoon to like take a couple counters, but I think in the future I will be swapping Deoxys defense into Obstagoons after using a shield on a Night Slash from the Shadow Victory Bell. The counter just 4 times effective, just does so much damage. Anyway, Shadow Hypno comes in. The Shadow Hypno doesn't do what the other one did, really, and load up to a Shadow Ball. So, easily let through that Thunder Punch. I'm going to throw Thunderbolts at this Azumarill. It's always worth it to throw Thunderbolts. Even if you have Shadow Victory Bell coming and clean it up, that means you'll use 1 less shield. So, I'm going to farm down this this Azumarill, and the Shadow Victory Bell is absolutely loaded. There's so much energy on the Shadow Victory Bell. So 2 consecutive Leaf Blades. They didn't even block the first one. And they're just not going to block the second one. They know the game is over at that point. But I'm not sure if they would have actually assumed I did Bastiodon on the back. And just left. So Galarian Stunfisk in the front. I like this matchup a lot. It's very like bait and player dependent, as well as IV dependent, I found. I actually did lose one matchup where I took a Rock Slide and I got Mud Shotted down. So that Galarian Stunfisk must have been like very heavily attack weighted. That's the only time it's ever happened. And I think I had some fast move lag too. Is it this one actually? Yeah, so this is the first time that's ever happened. I've never seen this before. So this player must be running an extremely heavily IV or attack IV weighted Stunfisk or something. So anyways, instead of winning switch advantage with 1 shield apiece, I lose it. And that's really bad, especially when my main counter for Azumarill is down. But luckily, they have an Azumarill and a Skarmory, and these are both Pokemon that both Deoxys Defense and Galarian Stunfisk have relatively neutral matchups with. This would be a much harder game if I had a Bastiodon. Notice the games where I failed to get switch advantage, they're harder with the Bastiodon. But Thunderbolt absolutely chunks Skarmory. This might KO. Not quite, but I'll come into the next matchup with a little bit of energy. Azumarill's gonna have to throw something, and I'm gonna protect because I know this Thunderbolt will KO. I had the option of either protecting or not. Then I could just also get an Earthquake on the Galarian Stunfisk. So this is a matchup where Galarian Stunfisk absolutely saves it there. And yeah, so I think that's it for this gameplay video. this, I definitely had to change up my playstyle a lot more than any of the other ones so far. So if you are watching like the part 1 through 3 videos and trying to like base your gameplay off of that and running Galarian Stunfisk as the closer, you might run into some problems. I think it's just a matter of working through them and keeping in mind that you do want shields down on their side. So going to a shield disadvantage, like you have to balance shields advantage and swap advantage a little bit, whereas the Bastiodon lineup is more just all about that switch advantage. Go down 2 shields to 0, it doesn't matter as much. With this team, you definitely have to watch your shields. There's a couple losses in there. You can see I've just been playing like I have the rest of my sets and making mistakes because I don't consider trying to take down the opponent's shields instead for Galarian Stunfisk. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. I don't think the next video is Bronzong, and it was not very successful, so we'll see if you guys enjoy watching that at all. Bye.